Um, okay, let's bring up the original text here. Now we're getting into very complicated laws. I don't mean complicated as difficult, but like it's I don't know if the word is gray area, but certain things that where we have to figure out. Brought up, we're going to have some of Rav Moshe Feinstein to make sure we get some more. I know, Barbara, when you wanted to start this class, we wanted to do more contemporary, and we're starting with the Kitzur, and we're going to get eventually, hopefully, to the Shemirath Shabbos Kehilchatah, but we're still in the Kitzur stage. But we'll try as much as possible to get some more current rulings on some of the questions, some of the laws we're going to be learning today. Okay, so we have like this. It says we're starting chapter number 84. Ah, right on time. Aaron, we're starting chapter number 84, which is laws regarding carrying garments and ornaments. So this is a big question. It goes into glasses, gloves, watches, sunglasses, and other keys, other things that we, shawls, handkerchiefs, just how do we walk around the streets with different things that we usually don't even think about? And is it considered carrying and is it permissible on Shabbos? Okay, so he's going to start off with law number 1. We'll go through this slowly. Kol davar she'enei loy malbush v'lei tachshit. If anything that is not a article that is neither a garment or an ornament, so it's not tachshit, it's not like something that's nice, and it's not a malbush, not a clothing. Aser lates bei l'rshus harabim or the Carmelis. You cannot walk out to a public domain or the Carmelis. Again, the Carmelis is the rabbinic public domain for all practical purposes, which again is about 95% of what we consider as the public areas are Carmelis, because a biblical public domain has to be in like the space used by the public in the desert, which is the width and amount of people. A very few places qualify for that, but a Carmelis is any outside place of your house, right? So you cannot go outside in what we would call rabbinic or biblical public domain, anything that's not a clothing and ornament. Okay, and now we're going to questions what qualifies and doesn't qualify as a garment. Can a person put on 5 sweaters and just walk outside, etc.? A tailor, again, you have to remember something. What we're learning now is the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, means the short version of the Kitzur of the Shulchan Aruch, which is in a single volume. The actual Shulchan Aruch, the Code of the Jewish Law, written by the Beit Yosef, and then with all the commentaries is today, depending on what publication you get, but it's a good few volumes. And then you have the Shulchan Aruch took it from the Rambam and other or original Rishonim, like the Rambam, the Rosh, the Tur, and others to make his, to make his book of Code of Jewish Law. And that's taken from the Talmud and the Mishnah, etc. This is the Masorah, the tradition of the oral law. So a lot of these things that can be mentioned in one line will have many details, chapters discussing them in the laws of Shabbos and other places, depending on the law. And he's just coming to the bottom line. Even the Rambam, if you go to the Rambam, you'll find much more details. Here we're talking about the Kitzur. The bottom line is you cannot walk out with a machet atchuva bebigdan. You can't just take a needle and stick it into your lapel, into your shirt, and walk outside. Usually, where is the question? Who would usually be doing that? It would be a tailor, right? A tailor wants to have his tools or her tools handy. So you'll stick them in your clothing. That's where you keep the noodles, and you're taking them off and on. So then you'll be carrying. Again, a lot of the concern over here is are you carrying it when you're wearing it? And another concern is, will you take it off, and then you'll be carrying even if it's a clothing, like gloves, right? You're only wearing gloves but will you take off your gloves? Will you take off if it's reading glasses? You don't always wear reading glasses. So there's 2 types of concern. One is the way you're walking outside carrying, or that you may carry. Okay. Yes, Aaron.
There's items like your prayer shawl.
Sorry, I didn't know what you said. There's items like
the prayer shawl, You
Yeah,
don't. No one wears it outside. But when you go to shul, they'll wear it. But on Shabbos, the people who don't believe in their roof will put it on and walk to shul with it on like a pair of like a clothing.
because again, we're going to discuss the talis. Okay. So l'chein aser latzeis b'machet atchuva b'bigdai. Therefore, because you could only carry a tachshit, an ornament, or a clothing, a needle in your clothing is not considered a clothing. It's not a tachshit. Tachshit would be something of like a nice necklace. It's not clothing. A necklace is a tachshit. It's an ornament. A pin in your lapel is neither. Now, if it has a hole, meaning it's used for threading, means it has the hole on the top which you can put the thread through. So then surely it's a problem. Again, these are things that are discussed in length in the Talmud, the Mishnah, and other in the responses. But here we're just giving the bottom line. So the bottom line is that it makes no difference if this needle has a hole in it or not. Meaning, is it just used for threading, or maybe you're going to use it to take out a splinter? Then it doesn't make a difference if it has a hole in it, right? Let's say you're wearing it not because you just want to stick it inside your clothing, but actually sometimes people it's holding your pants up. It's needed. I feel the tzarich levisha. You need it. It's tzarich. In order to walk outside with your clothing, you need the needle to hold something. It's not a safety pin. There's a difference between a safety pin and a needle. A man should be more careful. Because in a woman, we're going to see in a second, it could be that we could turn it into a tachshit. We could classify it as an ornament or something that you're wearing. But for man, you should be more careful not to go out with it. Aval isha, but a woman, kivan shederach hanashim lahamid kishureihem, because a woman is usually fastens their ribbons and kerchiefs. They use safety pins or pins. So then it's allowed because then it's the way they dress. A man doesn't usually put a needle in there as part of their clothing, and therefore a man should not wear it. Hold on, Aaron. But even for a woman, she cannot use a tailor's needle, which means it has a hole in it for threading. It should be one without a hole inside of it. She should not go out, even a woman, with a needle that has a hole in it. Again, this is all a conclusion, so to say, a bottom line of a lot of Mishnayos and Gemara discussing conversations, opinions, etc. Yes, Aaron. If you're talking, we can't hear you. You're on silent. You're on mute.
Can you use a pin to make an ornament out of your key so you can carry your key?
We're going to talk about a key in a second. Okay. The key that's allowed is the key itself has to be the ornament, not the pin. Okay, but we'll see. Let's see. He talks about the key in a second. Okay, footnote number 1. Again, if anyone has any questions, please don't wait, because there's going to be a lot of things that maybe that we're not familiar with, that there are issues with them. Like Aaron just mentioned, the key and the wristwatch, etc. So just chime in, whenever you have a question. Okay, footnote number 1. He's talking about even when he needs it for his clothing, a man should follow the stringent view. Again, there's different opinions. So he says like this again, and not all the footnotes are going to be are going to be agreeing with the ruling of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. This is in accord with the first opinion cited in the Shulchan Aruch, means the original Code of Jewish Law, chapter 301, Law 8, that going out with a needle with an eye, so the hole would be called an eye, is a deiraisa prohibition, while going out with a needle without an eye is prohibited rabbinically. Meaning, say, according to the opinion that says that going out with a needle without an eye is rabbinic and not biblical, so then it's a man who's being strict not to go out with it. If it's derech levusha, if you need it as getting dressed. But there's other opinions over there, which we're not familiar with right now, we're not learning it, that maybe would have said something differently. Okay. But his ruling of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is a man should be careful not to go with the pin, even if you're using it derech malbush as a way of fastening something. A woman can, provided it is a needle without an eye. Okay. She's permitted to go out with the pins of her for her dressing needs, Number two, wearing more pins than necessary is considered carrying and is prohibited. So he quotes the Mishnah Brura in the footnotes that even a woman, if she's going to put more pins than necessary, then it's not considered like part of your dress, and therefore it's considered carrying. You're carrying by it being on your person. Okay. Footnote number three, he quotes the Shulchan Aruch that says the woman could be more lenient for her needs in Shulchan Aruch 3039. Okay. B'tachshitin, when it comes to ornaments, there's certain ornaments that a person says this is not I'm not carrying. It's a part of an ornament. It's a tachshit. It's something that I wear, a decoration. Nevertheless, the rabbis have prohibited a person to walk out in a public domain. Yesh tachshitin she'asru la'anashim v'yesh tachshitin she'asru la'nashim. Sorry, Generation Z, but there's certain things that apply to men and certain things that apply to women. Certain clothing and certain ornaments that a woman cannot walk out with and a man could, and certain things that a woman can walk out with and a man cannot. There is another concern, like I said. One is it carrying itself as you're wearing it? Is it a way of carrying, or are we concerned the person may take off the ornament to show it to someone, and then you're going to be carrying it, it's not going to be connected to your person, right? So women, there's certain things that the halacha, and this is discussed already back in the Mishnah times, that the halacha recognizes that women like to show certain jewelries to each other, and they will take it off to say, look what I have. Men maybe are not into that sometimes, at least that they didn't used to be, and therefore it's we are concerned the woman will take it off, where the same similar thing a man would not take off. Okay, and vice versa. He says that today it's been accustomed, the minig has spread to be more lenient, and the rabbis have written reasons why we could be more lenient. We'll see the footnotes. Nevertheless, what he's saying is a person who's God-fearing should try to not. That's why we do find that, though someone would say, why are you doing that? The halacha says you can, the rabbi says you can, the more recent responses say you can. That's true, but there's a source to be more careful. Like the Shulchan Aruch says, v'yarei shamayim, someone who's God-fearing should try to be careful even on things that are permissible or accepted today to walk out. Yes, Aaron.
Okay, so I understand the fact that there's things for men and things for women, but you just discussed the pin or the needle. And the needle, you could say that a man works in a place where he sews for a living, like
that's
a tailor.
That's a problem.
Right, but then it says that the woman who doesn't work and has maids should at least knit, so she has needles to do her.
No, that's why a needle with an eye, which is used for a tailor, cannot be worn by anyone. A needle that doesn't have an eye, which then is not usable it's not a complete needle, means even if you plan on putting an eye in it, is right now not a complete.
Yeah, but a needle with a ball on the top is used for pinning things for when you're sewing.
Yes, but here we're talking. First of all, women are tailors as well. No, but what we're talking about over here is that because the pins it's normal, it's regular for women to use pins in their clothing. Men don't usually put pins in their clothing. That was the basis. So that's why it's a derech malvush. It's a way of clothing for the woman.
I got you.
It's odd if you see a person walking around with. I remember in COVID. In COVID, I was in Israel without any of my clothing at the time. I came for a weekend. I was going back and forth, and I didn't have a suit, and then I got stuck I ended up being I show for months on a time. So I got invited to a wedding, to my wife's cousin's wedding. So I had to find a suit, and I didn't want to go with my Shabbos clothing because I wasn't so familiar with them that I should be wearing top clothing, let's say. So I went to a friend who's a tailor. You couldn't go shopping. So I went to a friend with a tailor, and he had a suit that he was a tailor. So he had suits that he shows people for fitting. So I wore one of his, it had no pockets. So but it didn't fit me 100%. So I went to the wedding with pins in my pants. But that's not regular. Okay. So V'yer Shamayim, someone who's God-fearing is yesh l'hachmal. That's me. There's plenty of basis to be careful and try not to walk out, even if the custom today is. Ein Shulchan Aruch Siman Shanaf, look in the Shulchan Aruch, chapter 301, Siman Shin Gimel 303. Ubefrat yesh lizar, and specifically a person should be careful. Shlayetzi ish betabas she'ena leha choisam muftach mufutach. A man would those days would wear would have rings that was their stamp, their identity. So you wore a ring every time you wrote a document and you needed to stamp it. So you had the ring on you, you had your stamp on your finger. So that was the rings that men wore. Rings that didn't have a chaisim, didn't have a seal on it, wasn't regular for men to wear it. But sometimes the Mishnah, again, these old things that are discussed in the Mishnah, that, why would a man be wearing that kind of ring? Maybe his wife asked him to go to the jeweler and he doesn't want to lose it, so he puts it on his finger, but then he's more likely to take it off. And the woman would wear her husband's ring if she's going home and he wants her to take the stuff, so she doesn't want to lose it, she puts it on her fingers. But if it's not the regular jewelry that he or she would wear, so then there's more of a concern that they take it off. And it's also not a garment for them. Ayin Taisvis Shabbos Shin Gimel Tosefes Shabbos Shin Gimel Sif Katan Lamites. Also look in the additional parts of the chapters 303 and the law 39. Mikol Sheken Shla Yisa Etzloi Kli Hashois Shon Oiher Zeger. Okay, here comes the question. Now he says Mikol Sheken. Absolutely, a man should only walk out with the kind of ring men wear. And which is one with the chaysim, with the stamp, and surely he should not walk out with a watch. A shois is a watch. What kind of zeger are we talking about? So what he's talking about is the zeger that are in the pocket or like kind of loosely on your clothing. Afilu kashir b'revid hazav shunoisei al tzavari v'utachshit, even if he has a chain. And the watch, we're not talking about a wristwatch. He doesn't talk about a wristwatch. We're going to get into the question of wristwatch in a second, off the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. But it's sure, even if it's hanging on a chain, so it's like a tachshit, it's like an ornament, he should not walk out with a watch. But if it's in his pocket, I think he means the ones that, I think my grandfather used to wear one. The ones that have a little chain attached to your suit and that hang over your vest. That's mamish carrying. If you're wearing it as a necklace, it says you shouldn't. But to put it on in your pocket, a pocket watch is 100% carrying and should not be. You're not allowed to go out with it. Okay, we're gonna go off the Kitzur in a second, and we're gonna learn a little bit. We're gonna go a little bit into what the OU says, and we're gonna quote the Rav Moshe Feinstein about the question of wearing a wristwatch on Shabbos. Okay. And when I was growing up, I remember hearing that there's a difference between men and women. That a woman it's a jewelry, men it's more of a product. Okay, let's see. So we're holding footnote number 4. Let's find it. Okay. Now the prevailing custom is to permit it, and the authorities wrote reasons for this. Number 4. Okay, so we have some info here. One of the reasons is that according to many poskim, our streets are not public domain. Okay, back to the original point that we don't have public domains, and everything, and the whole idea of a carmelis is rabbinic, but rather carmelis, for we do not have 600,000 people daily passing in the streets, cited in Shulchan Aruch 303:18. We do have this number of people in the streets of our large cities, however, and thus may not be able to rely on this view. Again, so the question is, what happens if I live in Manhattan or in certain streets of Brooklyn, right? That do have the definition of a public domain. There are cities, large cities that have it. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch was writing when people lived in the shtetl. Others cite the reason as being that since so many women will continue to do so. Okay, this is a very interesting ruling in Shabbos. The Rambam quotes it. It's a ruling in Shabbos, and it's a ruling also outside of Shabbos. And it's a very risky ruling, which is sometimes if the rabbis are certain that people won't listen to you, so they'd rather just be quiet about it, so they shouldn't be amazed. They shouldn't do it. I mean, if you know that someone's not going to listen to you, and you're going to tell them, I have to tell you. So then you're making them do, and they didn't know it before. They thought it's okay, and now you're telling them it's not okay. And they're not saying, I don't care, but they're saying, I don't know if your ruling is right, maybe your information is not right. argue this or argue that. It's not important what. But over here, but what you're gonna do is they're not gonna listen. So better that they should be unintentional than doing something intentional. So that's what the basis over here is others cite the reason as being that since so many women will continue to do so, it is better that they do so in a state of unawareness rather than to do so unknowingly and willingly. This is a question of shogeg and mezid. Again, the Rambam says this about many things. That if you know that there's certain things that people are just not going to listen to you, specifically women and children, so just keep your mouth shut. And I've actually used it a few times in my own life, where I just know it's not going to happen. So you just keep your mouth shut, and that's sometimes and it's a very high level of ruling. You have to understand, because what you're basically saying is that you're kind of there's a basis for it. Obviously, it's not like a biblical. It's not something biblical. It's not idol worship. But it's kind of questionable if it's a garment, not a garment, and therefore just keep your mouth shut and don't. And they ruled accordingly. Okay. Footnote number 5. A person shouldn't do this without having any basis for saying that. But if there's a basis for it, then you should. A man should be careful not to go out with a ring which there is no engraved seal. So he says this also applies to a woman with an engraved seal ring. That a woman should not wear an engraved seal ring because that's not what women usually wear. So a woman could wear a regular ring as opposed to not wearing an engraved ring. Again, these are issues that are discussed in the Mishnayos. What are we talking about over here? A man should be careful not to go out with a ring of which there is no engraved seal. Okay, so now he quotes Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Some are makel, as with other jewelry, but a pious man should not go out of the Eruv wearing a ring. The Mishnah Berurah says, although that there's some people that are makel, even if there's no seal, but a God-fearing person, a man should not be wearing rings on Shabbos if you're going outside the Eruv. Right, that's the word on that. Okay, but a pocket watch, he says, is considered a burden, means you're carrying. The watch. Okay, now let's see what he says in the footnote over here before we go to Moshe, and then we'll get to your question in a second, Aaron. The watch, even though it is attached to an ornament, gold chain, is a burden, is called carrying, and not an ornament, since it is in your pocket and cannot be seen. Means what defines an ornament? It's a design. And here it's in your pocket, so it's even if you have a chain chained to your pants, but it's in your pocket. It's not an ornament. You're carrying it. Since it's in your pocket and cannot be seen, the Aruch Shulchan 301/62 is stringent even if it can be seen. Right? My grandfather used to wear a watch. Well, actually, you didn't see the watch; you just saw the chain. And the actual watch sat in his vest pocket, and he didn't wear it on Shabbos. I'm saying what he wore it during the week. So it's stringent even if it can be seen. As to a wristwatch, he doesn't go into the law. He just refers us to Igros Moshe, which is Harav Moshe Feinstein, the posik of our generation, and the Chelkas Yaakov, which talks about the wristwatch. We'll get there in a second. Okay, it's not permitted. Footnote number 8. This is prohibited. The Iraisa, the Chai Adam says that to carry a pocket watch is biblical. See Bir Halacha, the Shal Umeishiv, volume 1331, says it's prohibited rabbinically. Okay. So we're going to continue with the laws are going to continue with other things that we may ask. And we're going to just quickly bring up the OU before we get to the Moshe Feinstein. The OU says like this. Okay, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I just wanted to we could go back. Let's just go to the question of the wristwatch.
Well, what about the question about the ring? Because men today get wedding rings. Even in my community here, tons of wedding rings, and tons of people don't believe in their roof. So they don't take it off except when they go to sleep or take a shower or
So
do the washing.
they wear wedding rings, don't take it off, and also don't believe in the Eruv together.
No, they don't believe in the Eruv, so they're not following the Eruv. But they
Right?
have a wedding ring, and the only time they take it off, maybe when they sleep, when they shower, and when they wash their hands for bread, or when they wake up in the morning. So
I hear what you're saying, but okay, I'm saying whatever. The Eruv is not good, but the ring is okay. Listen, if you want to go with the Shulchan Aruch says, and he quotes the Mishnah Berurah, and the Mishnah in the footnotes, the Mishnah Berurah, the Chafetz Chaim, which is the posuk pre-war. writes clearly that there is those who are lenient. However, a God-fearing person should not. That's the end of the story.
Okay.
Okay, question. Is it permitted to wear a wristwatch? Discussion. The rationales for permitting one to wear a wristwatch outside on Shabbos are: 1. A nice watch, especially one made of silver and gold, may be considered like a piece of jewelry, especially for people who wear their watches even if they are not working. I mean, a lot of people, again, today it's become even more so. A watch is a statement of status, right? If a person wants to show where they're holding in life, I was in Shul on Simchas Torah. I kept on hearing from someone who I know who's a jeweler who sells jewelry. Oh, look at this guy! He has a $70,000 watch, a $50,000. The watch, that's definitely today. People don't just wear Casios like they did in the '80s, or calculator watches, but people are wearing watches as a statement of status. So that's like a jewelry. Such an item can be classified as a tachshit, an ornament, which may be worn outside. So that's one opinion. One opinion is if we're talking about an expensive watch, which is like mamish, like a tachshit. Again, this is why they're more lenient with women than men. At least they were. Number 2 is even if it's not a tachshit, it may be considered a derech malbush, since the watch is worn directly on the wrist and is no different from any other item worn directly on a person's body, which is considered malbush. So another thing is that one of the concerns is that's considered carrying, like we said about the pocket watch, but this is on the body. It's not in your pocket and it's on your hand, so it's like a garment. Malbush means a garment, so it's not an ornament, but it's a garment. That's one of the things you wear, and so therefore it should be permitted. So it shouldn't be considered carrying, and people don't take their watches off. Usually, at least. Although I was in shul over, like I said, Simchas Torah, and when people were trying to flash their success, everyone was taking off their watches and passing it around to show, this is how nice a watch I have. Okay, so maybe that one has to consider that. While many poskim do not accept these arguments and prohibit wearing a wristwatch on Shabbos, these are the people that are lenient, but most poskim, most opinions are not lenient. And it is appropriate to be stringent, like we said before. There's clearly room for leniency, and we do not object to those who do wear wristwatches on Shabbos. This is from the OU Torah. Again, women especially may be more lenient and wear gold or silver wristwatches on Shabbos, since women view an expensive watch primarily as a piece of jewelry and consider its function as a timepiece secondary. Thus, the watch is halachically viewed as a tachshit that may be worn. Okay, so these are the bases 274, the chutz shinoi and Igros Moshe. Okay, we're going to just look at the Igros Moshe. We're going to get back to this OU for other things. There is the Igros Moshe, which is on Igros Moshe 111, which again, the Igros Moshe is the responsa from Rav Moshe Feinstein. This is going to bring down the part that it says over here. He's asked clearly. It says Rabbi Yud Gordon. I'm wondering if this is Rabbi Yochanan Gordon, the grandfather of the Gordon family, including Nachi Gordon, the big religious podcaster, Chabad Chassid, but it's Reish Yud Gordon, possibly Rabbi Yochanan Gordon. Either way, he was a Rav in New Jersey. Kind of person wear a wristwatch on Shabbos. Hine Rav Moshe says a pocket watch is clearly prohibited. He says even if you're wearing it outside, like we said before, he still says it's possible one should not wear it, and he goes into the now, but if a person wears the wristwatch on their wrist, meaning on their body, not in their pocket, on their clothing, then it's considered maybe as a clothing. Where he says even if a stamp, we say that a ring that has a seal on it, a man could wear on Shabbos, even though he's not allowed to use the seal on Shabbos, because that's what he wears. So even surely a watch, this would kind of, in Rav Moshe Feinstein, this response was written in 1956, 56, Ches Tishrei, 56, right? So this is before there was electric watches and smart watches. So that's obviously another question. The smartwatch the actual use of the smartwatch of a smartwatch is prohibited on Shabbos, and I'm sure the question came up with when they had the electric watches like the Casio or the calculator watch back in the day, in the 80s. But here he's talking about but that could be different because maybe it's more of a process to use a seal than to just quickly use your watch, especially if your watch is just getting messages on its own. Okay, so nevertheless, Mishum Nekim to Al Gufi Mamash Levisha Shein by Israel, so therefore it's not considered carrying because it's considered a garment. Avsheni Takshas Klal, even though it's not an ornament for a man. And it's mainly created as something to use, not as a garment or a clothing. He considers talks about other things as well. Certain things about that may be an ornament that or may be considered a garment. But let's just see his final ruling over here. So he says, just to bring down the final ruling of Ramosha, although there's a good enough reason not to object to someone who wears a wristwatch, a person who is a person of Torah, V'yira Shemayim and God-fearing. Shaloi lovshu b'Shabbos k'dei shalayavi lahakil b'chol shoyin v'shalayavi lahakil b'shoyin zel al bishay alakosne shahadovra, I think. La yadu lahafrish v'chein ein mitzvah ani mitzav l'talmidai. So Reb Moshe Feinstein finishes off, because a person may make a mistake and learn from a wristwatch to a pocket watch, a God-fearing person should not wear it, and so he finishes off. So too, I tell my students. Now, in the Chabad article, it goes into the question that we don't even wear a wristwatch on Yom Tov, right? Chabad doesn't even wear a wristwatch on Yom Tov, which means we don't even wear a wristwatch when it's not prohibited to carry. He says that. Hold on a second. I did see I must have not brought it up. Okay, but either way, let's continue. Any questions before we go further?
Yeah. Okay. I just want to say, in our show we kind of discussed this. So a wristwatch you can wear, a smart watch when you're walking. So anytime you move your hand, it could make something turn on, a feature, even the step count, so that you can't wear the smartwatch. But there's a question, and I don't know the whole answer. But if you have one of those watches that self-wind itself, so every time you move, it could wind it. Can you even wear that? And I never got fully an answer on that. But a regular watch, he says yes. And one of the rulings that they went by is that especially if it doesn't do anything, even a calculator watch, if you don't touch it, the point is, you want to be on time for the shears and the services. So you're not taking it on and off. You could wear it, but I'm wondering about, since you can't use the smartwatch because you might trigger something. The self-winding is by movement.
The self-winding watches is definitely discussed. If I'm trying to, I don't want to say this. If I remember, the Rebbe used to have a watch by him so you could know the time. The Rebbe wouldn't wear a wristwatch on Shabbos even if he was in 770 and he's allowed to carry this. It's private domain. But I think the Rebbe did have the watch on his person and then take it out and put it by his stender, by his davening place. So I just want to read this again in the Ask the Rav. I forgot what the source is even. Regarding wearing a watch outside in a place with no air below is a brief discussion on this. Below is a brief discussion topic. When in a public domain where there's no Erev, we may only carry the clothing and jewelry we are wearing through the halacha, though the halacha permits of wearing jewelry are complicated. Everything else is considered masa, which means load, carrying, and may not be carried due to the malacha of haitzaf carrying outside on Shabbos. Watches don't assume the halachic status of jewelry according to most opinions, and may not be worn in an area without an erev. There are a minority view that consider wristwatches as a garment, but many poskim reject that position and maintain that it is a keli, a device for telling time. The exception is, according to many opinions, a woman's watch that is made of gold or silver, otherwise exceptionally elegant, that would be worn even if the watch stopped working, provided, and I've seen that people wear watches that don't work because it's a jewelry, provided it is not worn under the sleeve. Under the sleeve, then there's no point because people have to see it. There are people who are particular not to wear a watch on Shabbos, even indoors. This is the part I wanted to read, or in places where there is an Erev, either because they consider it as odds with Kedusha, sanctity of Shabbos, or two, to the concern that they may inadvertently wear it in a forbidden area as well, because once you have it on your wristwatch and then you're not, you're in a space outside of an Erev Sefer, they never wear the watch. This is similar to halacha that we should avoid putting things in our pocket on Shabbos as precaution against carrying. As I'm saying, I'm not sure 100% if the Rebbe carried it in his hand, and I'm almost sure that the Rebbe had a watch off his hand. Maybe it was just Yom Tov. Maybe it wasn't Shabbos. I don't want to quote something I'm not 100% sure. Okay, let's go further, a little further. Maftech, this is the question that Aaron asked. Maftech shel a silver key. So you could say it's an ornament, right? Even though the key itself was made as a key, it's silver, but it's made to use as a key. So then it's not an ornament, really. It's really a device, so to say. But since it's silver, so it's also an ornament. The custom is that they put it on Shabbos. Now, here comes the question. Seemingly, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch holds a person cannot. Bati einayim means glasses. Mishkafayim is Hebrew for glasses, or in Yiddish, brillin, he said, which is glasses. You're not allowed to wear glasses outside of Shabbos. So there's four types of glasses that four reasons a person would wear glasses. One is reading glasses. Then there's for seeing outside. Number three would be sunglasses. And number four is some people wear sunglasses. We're coming up to the yard site of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef would wear sunglasses all the time, not because of style, because his eyes were sensitive to light. So then the sunglasses is protection. It's not just part of, so to say, just for a person to walk out in the sun. I mean, people that it's dangerous for them to be without sunglasses. Okay, so he writes, he doesn't make any exception. Even if they're made of silver. So then you could say, why is it different than a key? You can't go out with him. Okay, let's just see, and then we're going to see the opinions on this. Everyone knows that today people wear seeing glasses outside. I mean, people don't walk without glasses, but he doesn't seem to make any difference in it. A silver key, he says, it serves primarily as a jewelry, unlike brass and steel keys, which are functional and prohibited. So if you were to have I think, Aaron, you were talking about, if I remember correctly, I don't know if they still do it. There was an idea people would have a tie clip that was a key, right? Remember that? I think that a tie clip.
They still do it. I see people with it.
I'm saying what he says is that if it's brass or steel, it can't be used. It's not a tachshit. But it could be. He doesn't say where the person has it on him. Obviously, you can't have it in your pocket. That's carrying. He doesn't say doesn't say where he has it, like on the today. There once was a style to have a tie clip. So if your tie clip is a key, it's mamish. It's not just a tachshit. It's actually part of the regular design, as opposed to kind of something you're trying to add. Maybe that's the basis of leniency. Okay. Since it's also a piece, hold on, Barbara, let me just see this. Since also a piece of jewelry is customary to carry it on Shabbos. Let's see for number 10. As a pin or tie bar. Okay, this is the thing. He says, talks about tie bar. It is better to have a belt using the key as a clasp or tooth of the buckle. Okay, so therefore, or tooth of the buckle, whatever, then it's part of the actual. That means if it's like I told you before, I think we discussed this a few weeks ago in Chabad when we were growing up. There was no Erev in Brooklyn, and Chabad students wear what's called a bendel, which is like a gartel under your clothing. So it's like an elastic that has clips at the end. So on Shabbos, the psak was, I think, from Rabbi Marlow, is that if you went to the Chabad key, the guy who made the keys in Crown Heights, they would drill holes on the sides of the metal keys, and then the key, you would put the clips into the key, and the key expanded the belt, so it became part of the belt. So then it's part of the belt, and it's mamish. It's not just a taksha, an ornament, but it's actually a clothing because you need the belt. So that's what he's saying. A pin or bar and tie. It's better to have a belt using the key as a clasp or tooth of the buckle. The key must also be attached to the ends of the belt, so it's part of the garment, not just hanging on the garment. Yes, Barbara, you're on mute.
Sorry. So how would I, as a woman, carry keys? I mean, I'm not carrying a whole lot of key, but
It's a
like,
it's a problem. It's a problem if unless you turn you could turn it into a belt. If you ask if you turn it into the belt I described, I think for a woman that's also permitted, where you have the elastic, and at the end of the elastic you put because we're going to discuss soon about unnecessary belts. Like if a person
I,
is a person not just dress themselves up with unnecessary clothing so they could carry. So we discussed we're
right.
going to discuss that in a few laws. But I'm for men, it's definitely accustomed to it's part of our garments to have this belt. Women don't have the belt, so the question is, can they wear that belt? I believe, not 100%, I believe that it's permitted for women as well, even though they're during the week, it's not the custom for a woman to wear that kind of elastic around their waist.
Can I wear it as a necklace? Could I put it on a chain and wear it around my necklace?
If it's that's the question. If we're going to look at what he says here, based on what he makes the difference between a silver key and a brass and steel key, that if it's a silver key, meaning it's a nice key, so then then that'd be like the necklace would be the way to wear it. But if it's a brass, it seems like what he's saying from here, a brass and steel key, you can't because it's definitely not an ornament. You wouldn't take pride. I think there's also a question, for instance, people have turned money into jewelry as well, like a coin to put into like on your on to wear on your neck, especially Chabad people who've received coins from the Rebbe, a nickel or a dime, they've turned it into necklaces.
But
So
I can't carry it in my pocket.
the pocket for sure, pocket 100% you can't. What people
I
do
can?
cannot. No,
Oh, cannot.
in your
Okay.
pocket definitely not. If anything, a necklace. But he says that a necklace will only be if it's a decorative key. But if it's just a key hanging off your neck, it seems like you can't. How? I mean, today people don't get silver keys, and it's very expensive to get a silver key. So what would one do today is a good question. I mean, what we always did back in the day was we obviously hid the key somewhere near the house.
Okay.
It could be. You could ask the rabbi in a situation where it's dangerous to leave a key out and all that, especially in a
Right.
place like where you live. But maybe it could be you could turn it into a necklace under certain rulings. Let's see if the OU talk
But
about.
can you, okay, I'm in a certain situation. If you don't believe in the roof and
Yeah,
you have, wait,
Aaron, before you ask the question, I just want to say something.
yeah.
It's a little complicated when we're not believing in something that's halachically. There's a whole tractate in the halacha in the Talmud on Erev. So Erev is not something you don't believe in the Erev. You
No,
could
no,
say
no, but
you
there's
maybe
like,
restrict in the Erev, but the Erev is something to believe. And then it's interesting to me to have someone say, I don't believe in the Erev, but although the Shulchan Aruch says really you should not wear your ring outside. I don't believe in there, but I believe in a man wearing a ring outside that's considered a takshit. Okay, you have to when you have all these. I believe in this and I don't believe in that. You have to make sure the math works as well.
well, I'm not saying, okay.
Okay.
The point is that I live in a building. I have doormen and I'm asking you, I know people do it, but I'm not sure if it's right. So they walk down, they lock up their house or their apartment, and then they walk downstairs, give the key to the Goyim doorman, and then when they come back, they say, "Can I have my key, please?"
Again, there's other questions. I don't want to say like 100% because other questions about Eretz of carrying of if that's considered, if everything if everything is halakhically privatized in the building, means you do an Erev in the building so you can carry in the building, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Okay, footnote number 11. What are we talking about? Glasses. Okay. So here he says like this. This applies both to Again, I'm just quoting now what we have here from the Hard Tzvi put in by Chabad.org on the Kitzur. The footnotes were added to the Kitzur, not from the Kitzur himself that I understand, added from the person who put it together for Chabad.org. So he says like this prohibition of wearing glasses outside, even if the glass frames again, even today, a glasses frame is a statement. Wow, where did you get your glasses from? So the even if they're made of silver, which is a jewelry, right? This applies both to glasses serving only as an ornament, as well as for corrective lenses. If I understand correctly, corrective lenses means both reading and seeing glasses. Reading glasses are not permitted. You may take them off and carry them because people don't wear reading glasses the whole time. When you're not reading, you take them off. So reading glasses are for sure a concern that you're going to take them off and carry them. Sunglasses are not permitted unless they are required for a particular eye ailment. So here the Har Tzvi quotes. It doesn't say clearly about seeing glasses, but he says corrective lenses that you're not allowed to walk outside. It's unless I don't understand the English translation of corrective lenses to mean only reading glasses versus seeing glasses. But he says sunglasses cannot be worn outside unless you have an ailment. But just to say I want sunglasses because the light disturbs me, it seems clearly from here that we do not wear sunglasses. Now we're going to check the OU's opinion on this. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, so three things. Number one, if you can't see your prayer book unless you have glasses on, reading glasses, so then what do? Number two is my glasses, when it hits UV light, it changes the sunglasses, and they're for seeing distance and reading. And then my rabbi, I'm just using this as something, so glasses are needed to walk, to see. But my wife has hearing aids like glasses. But they're digital, need to be turned on and all this stuff. They're not here. They go for the cochlear implant. Without them, she's deaf. So my rabbi said, yeah, she can wear them because there's no way she's going to hear anything. She'll be deaf, and that's a danger. But she could carry it. But it's digital. It hooks up to her ears and the brain, and they allowed it. And
So just in the short, we're going to see now. Seeing glasses, just reading glasses, you're not allowed to because people take them off.
So how do you read the book?
So most people, first of all, today a lot of shuls will have baskets of complimentary glasses, or you leave it in your shul by your place. If you're going to shul that you're not a member of and you don't know if they have reading glasses, you have to figure it out. But there's the reading glasses. I don't think there's no leniency on that. Today, people seeing glasses, obviously people walk out, and tinted glasses, what you say that they turn into sunglasses is also allowed because the foundation of the glasses are for seeing. They just turn into sunglasses when you go outside.
Okay, so you said reading
Bifocals are also allowed because the person doesn't take them off. So the only question that today what is prohibited seemingly is only 100% sunglasses and 100% reading glasses. So that's the bottom line.
Unless they're medically needed.
Unless the sunglasses are medically needed, yes. But let's just see what the OU says of it. Are there any restrictions in wearing eyeglasses? Again, the kids, I'm not sure if the kids at Shulchan Aruch had different glasses. Back in the day, there was like those glasses that hung like a pocket watch, that you put in your eye. It was like the whole glasses wasn't like the style of glasses we have today is relatively new, glasses that sit on the ears. So it could be that when he says glasses, he means those eyeglasses that hung on a string, but it doesn't seem. And he quotes over here in footnote number 11, doesn't seem to find any leniency in the Har Tzvi as well. But let's see what the OU says. Okay, are there any restrictions in wearing glasses? Eyeglasses depends on the type of eyeglasses. 262 is whom? This entire paragraph is based on Ashrei Ha'ish, Shmir Shabbos Kehilchatah. Okay, this is based on he's quoting from solid sources. Shmir Shabbos Kehilchatah, which like Barbara wants to learn soon, is coming from. These are all accepted authorities on Shabbos. Okay, it depends on the type of eyeglasses. Regular eyeglasses, which are worn so that a person can see where he or she is going and what he or she is doing, may be worn without restrictions. Number one, no problem. Seeing glasses, no problem. You could wear it. It's 263. For a minority dissenting opinion, the Chut quote Chazon Ish. He says there's some people who don't permit it, but the accepted ruling is yes. Okay. Regarding glasses which are worn only when one needs to read, only reading glasses may not be worn while walking in the street on Shabbos. Nikuda. You can't put them on, even say, I'm going to walk with them on Shabbos. First of all, everyone knows if you're just reading glasses, it makes it very complicated to walk. If you're not reading while you're walking, it blurs your vision. Bifocals, which is what you asked about, or progressive bifocals, which are used for both reading and seeing, are permitted without restriction. Non-prescription sunglasses, which protect the eye from the sun, may not be worn on Shabbos. This is from Shemirath Shabbos. You cannot go outside in a public domain with sunglasses which are non-prescription. A person who has a medical condition that requires him or her to wear sunglasses outdoors is permitted to wear them in a carmelis, but not in a Rosh Hashanah. That's also very strict. It means even if you have glasses because you need it as a protection, as an ailment, you have an ailment if to be outside in the bright, you can only walk in a carmelis. You can't walk in a Rosh Hashanah, meaning you can only go into a rabbinic public domain, not a biblical public domain. Again, there's very few of those in the world, but they do exist, especially for those of you that live in Manhattan and Brooklyn. I think Manhattan. Optical sunglasses, which are regular eyeglasses used for seeing, but also tinted for protection from the sun. Again, Aaron, what you asked, may be worn without restriction. Photography glasses are permitted as well. I'm not sure what that is. Anyone know what photography glasses are?
There may be one or two things. I'm just taking a gander because I'm into
It's a
photography.
particular type of gray. It's a particular type of gray that they tint
Oh.
because it used to be you could get your glasses tinted, like if you had dyslexia or something like that, or something. There's this particular tint of glasses that you could get your glass lens done, and that was supposed to help with it somehow.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but I want to ask a quick question. I'm being a little picky here, just because this will help me understand it. There are it's rare cases, but there are people who are allergic to the sun. Walking out in the sun could burn them like in 2 minutes, so they usually only go out at night. But if you're a Jew, you have to go and see the service, so they will get all dandied up so no sun will touch them, and they have to wear protective over their eyes. They have to. They can't.
Okay, but
They're allergic.
we just said that if you need it,
Oh,
then you could go out in a carmelis.
but no, but you can't go out if you don't have a carmelis.
Okay, if a carmelis is 90% of what we call public domain, any place that's not like it's very wide with 600,000 people passing through.
Oh, okay. So that's
Okay.
most of the world.
Most of the world. I'm saying, but he
Mhm.
says he quotes from seemingly the Shemirath Shabbos Kehilchatah that to wear sunglasses, even if you need them for for extreme situations, not just, I mean,
So
anyone who wears sunglasses. Some people wear sunglasses only as a garment, as a design, but everyone takes them off and on. The problem is you take them off and on, you're going to carry. So even, even let's say I'm wearing my reading glasses, you have a string for it. That doesn't qualify.
So wait, this to answer this question, because my son takes on and off his glasses. Like he has this problem, and he just doesn't keep them glued to his face, though he needs them to see distance. My question is, when he's outside and he's not inside, he shouldn't be taking them on and off. He should stick them to his
100%.
face.
Yeah, just because you could wear them doesn't mean you can take them on and off. The point is that most people don't take them on and off.
It's a
I
habit.
understand. He doesn't say anywhere in the OU of certain questions. For instance, my seeing glasses are not strong. I don't need to wear them to see. It makes it a lot better and less complicated not to wear them. But I'm saying I do when I walk outside, I do take them on and off. So I was taking them off, so it doesn't say anywhere in the Shemirath Shabbos Kehilchatah that he's quoting. Again, when we see the original text, this is quoting from. When we see the original text, that's where we have to always check the text. Maybe he does get more into details, but he says without restriction. So we're going to take it for now at face value. He just finishes off. I just want to finish off one thing over here before we end the class. He says that contact lenses is subject to the same rules as eyeglasses. What he means by that is. I'm assuming that a person puts in contacts for eye color. Some people want to change the color of their eye or other things that's not necessary for seeing. You should not wear contact lenses. That's what I understand them to mean. I'm not sure if people wear contact lenses just for reading. That doesn't make sense. Okay.
Nope.
Any questions? before we
But
finish.
wait, you could have one eye reading and one eye for distance. If you for certain there's certain things I know, like my mom, she would wear one contact lens, and then her eyes changed. But at one point, she was wearing one contact lens because the other one was good, and the combination of the good eye and the contact lens eye, it worked for her.
Yeah, I'm saying I find it hard to believe that if a person for whatever reason does wear contact lenses for reading, I find it hard to believe the rabbis would make it prohibitive. It's people do not take contact lenses in and out. That's one of the things they don't do. You don't just take out your contact lenses.
But
That's
no one I know is wearing reading contact lenses. It's
yeah,
just kind of ridiculous because you only put it on to read like a menu and your prayer
yeah.
book.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, anyone else have any questions before we complete the class?
I do have one particular
Sure.
question. You were talking about contact lenses and that you can't wear them to change the color of your eye. But there are people who are born with um, both of their eyes are a different color. One
Mhm.
might be blue and the other one might be green or
Mhm.
brown or something like that. Now, if they wanted to even those out, they could wear a colored contact lens in that situation, right? Because that would be
Again, I don't, and I'm not, and he says similar. I don't know what he means by that because again, we're not seeing the original text. We're just seeing someone who's gathering information. I'm sure this is discussed more in detail if he's quoting from the Shmir Shabbos Kehilchatah. He says similars. Again, there's one difference between glasses and contact lenses, and that is that glasses people do take on and off. People do not take their contact lenses in and out. I mean, people don't do that. Like you don't.
no.
That's something you avoid. So if you, again, I find it hard to believe, but it could be that that just for changing the color of the eye is carrying. It's not about that you can take it out. It itself is carrying because it's not a tachshit, it's not a garment, it's not a ornament. It's something that you're carrying. Like it'd be no different than having a pin in
But
your
what if it made the person feel self-conscious? And I say this because I was at school with
Mhm.
someone who had two different colored eyes, and this person was extremely self-conscious about the fact that each of their eyes was a different color. And so if somebody if that was going to, I mean, be bothering them quite a bit.
Okay, that's an excellent question, and that question is not just in this specific case. It comes up in many cases. I just had it personally when I called the Rav about something with my children. The Rav says that emotional health is as important as physical health. About a question if someone wants to do something for an emotional reason, and like you're saying, this maybe would fall under the qualification of like a person who could wear sunglasses if it's dangerous to wear them out if the light bothers them. So it could be that in that situation, hold on, Aaron. You have some people that are, today they're blue eyes and tomorrow they're brown eyes. That's
Oh, that in that
that's
situation, yeah,
different. But
I
here we're
understand.
talking. But here we're talking about. You're talking about a person who wears it all the time, and it's part of their, like you said, and it's also emotionally damaging for them to. They're very uncomfortable to be outside. Otherwise, I'm sure there'd be a leniency for that, especially with a contact lens. That's not. That's mamish. I mean, if what he says similar applies to contact lenses, is that the question is? I can't imagine the question is that you take it off because that's not possible. That's not a practical concern when it comes to contact lenses. But it could be it's considered carrying, and it could be in the case of what you're describing, that would not be considered carrying because it'd be considered to a medical use and emotional medical use, then you could be lenient to maybe based on other laws that we're going to learn further down of it, when you could carry things. Men and women could have certain things on their person, although it seemingly otherwise could be considered carrying. I'm quite certain there'd be leniency. I'm not a POSIC, but I'm quite certain there'd be a leniency for your case, what you're describing, Barbara.
Okay.
Aaron, last
Yeah,
word.
I'm just going to say this. Okay, so by Shul, uh, has a group home for people. They don't own it, but people like your daughter, and so they're adults though, and they come to our Shul. And there's one particular guy on occasions when he comes, he can't stop holding his like music player, whatever it is. As long as he doesn't turn it on, the rabbi doesn't say anything because he doesn't understand, and he some of the mitzvahs he's not doesn't have to follow, and there's no way this guy's not going to not hold it. He just holds it.
Okay, that's obviously permissible. We're talking about, and that's a totally
I know,
different
I'm just giving you an
scenario.
example.
No. Yeah, but again,
Emotional.
that you're true, right? That falls under another qualification of reasoning. But both of them are good points. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Laila Tov, and take care. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.